Hi, guys. Welcome back to Her Career, Her Way, a podcast that aims to empower ambitious individuals by giving them the strategies, tools, and honest conversations to help them navigate and build their career in their chaotic 20s. And so this episode is a little bit different. It's a bonus episode, and I'm going another year around the sun. And when this kind of happens, I love to reflect and get real about what this past year has taught me. And so I thought I'd share 5 transformative lessons that I've learned from this past year and kind of what intentions am I bringing into my next chapter. And I hope you guys can resonate with some of these lessons, learn from them, as well as maybe take a chance to reflect on your own life and kind of what you want to bring into your next chapters. So let's get into it. Lesson number 1 is letting go of judgment and what others think. So, you know how I love to read? Well, I recently read the 101 Essays by Brianna Wiest. And one of the key takeaways that I found was the things that we judge most harshly in others are mirrors of our own insecurities. So basically, the things that we judge about others are things that we actually just don't like about ourselves. And the things that we admire in others are the things that we secretly like about ourselves. And I thought this was really interesting because I felt that I was constantly judging those who were confidently sharing their own opinions, whether it be kind of on Instagram, sharing what has worked for them, or kind of, I like jazz music, or I'm high maintenance, or I need to get up at 8 in the morning, or I need to go to bed at this time in order to, achieve X, Y, and Z. I don't know. For some reason, I was judging them for saying this so confidently out loud. But I think the truth is that I was terrified to share my own thoughts and opinions because of fear of judgment. And that fear of judgment is just what kept me silent. I mean, I was scared that people weren't going to like me for me. But if you think about it, if you're not really being genuine and saying what you actually think, people are falling for somebody that they don't even know, that isn't even you. And so you're kind of putting on this facade and this fake image to other people just to fit in. And it's so easy in society to want to conform to other people and to others' thoughts and what other people are doing because you're just scared of them not liking what you have to say. But at the end of the day, then that's not really the real you. And so your friends and people are liking somebody that they don't even know. And that's unfair to them. And that's hugely unfair to you. And so, what I have to say about this is kind of notice what triggers you when you're judging someone and ask yourself, what is this teaching about myself? Use judgment as a compass, kind of pointing you towards your growth areas and not as a weapon against other people, because innately judgment is more about you than it is about other people. And kind of once I learned this, that I was judging people for speaking their truth, I kind of knew that I had to do something scary. And this is what leads me into lesson number 2, which is the power of starting even when you're terrified. So confidence isn't built by just waiting until you're ready. It's built by doing the thing that scares you. And kind of the thing that has terrified me is honestly starting this podcast. And I had spent years thinking about it, kind of planning the episodes, planning the ideas, even trying to find a partner because I was thinking that I wouldn't be credible enough on my own. People would judge me, or what if I wasn't good enough? That was really the root cause, is that I thought I wasn't good enough on my own. But what I learned is that there really is no right time. I mean, you can have the perfect plan, but there is no guarantee of success. And so I just hit record. And that was a really big thing. I mean, that is what confidence is. It's about doing the hard things, doing what you believe in without the guarantee of success or whatever your expectations are. And honestly, this podcast has really helped me find my voice. And of course, I still use research. And of course, I have evidence backed case studies that I look at to help inform what I'm talking about. And also, I love to have guests on just to hear their perspectives. And I feel like you can really kind of take what they have to say, what resonates with you, and how you can utilize them for your own growth and your own path. And I definitely think perspectives are definitely important, but I also think that I need to start kind of owning and sharing what I have to say because each of us, each individual has such a diverse perspective and has a background that nobody else has had and learnings and teachings that nobody else has had. And why shouldn't we share them? So I would kind of encourage you guys to think of something that you've been putting off yourself, whether it's changing a major or having really difficult conversation with a friend, a partner, whoever it is, family member, and kind of Take a beat to see if there's some sort of small action that you can take to kind of lead into that change. Because this is what confidence is, it's about doing the hard things, showing up without really knowing what the answer is. And that's where power lies as well. And I want to leave you with this is that what if imperfect action was better than perfect inaction? I always think it's better to act on something, even if it isn't perfect, because then you're moving. But here's the thing is that I didn't do this alone. I had help. And this leads me into lesson number 3, which is the company you keep shapes who you become. Honestly, the people you surround yourself reflect the future that you're building, not the past that you're trying to leave behind. And this honestly happened for me at my internship, where I was surrounded by kind of like minded people with similar missions who were driven, ambitious, had a purpose. And these were people like my mentor, my fellow interns, honestly, the friends that I had. And they weren't talking about their dreams, they were actively building them. And that was contagious. The energy that I was surrounded by was contagious. It made me feel inspired. It made me have drive. It made me have more ambition than I thought I did have. And I thought if they could put themselves out there, why couldn't I? Why couldn't I? And there's actually science behind this. A motivational speaker called Jim Rohn says that you become the average of 5 people you spend the most time with. And I think this is honestly expanding into just your environment in general. Kind of what inputs are you putting into you? What are you seeing out on the streets? What ads are you looking at? How are they affecting you so that they affect your output? And I don't think this is just the people that you surround yourself with. I think it's also the environment that you're surrounding yourself with. And kind of really being intentional and looking at what are you actually inputting in your life, whether it's music, friends, family, of advertisements, movies, TV, whatever it is, how are those affecting you and how are they affecting your outputs? If you're constantly kind of listening to things that are telling you you're not good enough, you're going to start believing that. And then you're not going to change and grow from that because you are just kind of in that victim mindset, to be honest. And so when you change your environment, when you change the people around you that, want to support you, challenge you, that's where you become unstuck. And kind of if you are feeling stuck, I would really encourage you to kind of look around. Who are you spending the most time with? Are they lifting you up or are they holding you back? That is really what being intentional is about. And so, kind of seeking out communities that align with you. If you want to do Pilates, are you surrounding yourself with people who just want to go to the movies every night or go out for drinks every night? Maybe start to reflect how you can change. Maybe go on a run club or go to a Pilates club or, whatever it might be, whatever your goals are. Kind of really align how you are actually going to take those steps and goals that you want to achieve. And I think the fastest way to change your life is to honestly change the environment that you're in. And so, kind of when I started to change my environment and surround myself with people that were ambitious, who were driven, and things like that, something really unexpected happened. And that is where I go into lesson number 4, which is owning your strengths and knowing your worth. And your self worth isn't determined by your accomplishments. And I definitely spoke about this in my perfectionist episode, which is you think that I'll be worthy when I achieve X, or I'll be enough when I accomplish Y. But these are the traps. It's a moving target. The goals that you set are constantly moving. Once you achieve one goal, you're going to move on to a different goalpost. And then you're going to move on to something else. And you're thinking, oh, well, I finished this. Well, now I need to move on to this. But it's like you're constantly needing something to feel valuable. But the thing is that you can achieve X, Y, and Z, you can do whatever, but at the core, you are still who you are and you have values and you have strengths. And so once I kind of surrounded myself with these ambitious people, they actually helped me to see what my own strengths are, the things that I've been ignoring, to be honest. And I started believing in them. I started to believe that I am ambitious, I am capable, and I can put myself out there. And so, reflection and growth aren't just about fixing what's broken or achieving another goal. They're about kind of taking the steps toward where you want to go. And so, I think it's really important for you to start acknowledging your strengths, actually write them down physically. Separate your identity from your achievements. Really just celebrate who you are, not just what you do. And I don't mean this in kind of like a bragging way, like, oh, I'm so good at this, or they could never beat me at this. No, I mean, a little bit of humor is fine, but in a way that like this is a gift that I have. Something that I've been thinking of is that I am good at connecting, and I love to kind of connect with people and hear their stories and then share them with other people because I think they're really valuable lessons. And why shouldn't more people have access to this teaching that I thought was so impactful in my life? And it's definitely uncomfortable to kind of acknowledge your strengths, but it's so powerful because once you kind of own your strengths and once you kind of know about them, then you can utilize them to do things that you love. I mean, with this connection, I'm doing this podcast, which is something I absolutely love to do. I'm sharing the lessons that I've learned from other people, from whether it be research or just people of my lives or people that I have coffee chats with. And I feel like there's such valuable information that should be shared to a community that might be struggling with the same things. And that's kind of what I love about kind of being surrounded by like minded individuals because we're all kind of feeding off of this energy, of these lessons that we find so impactful. And that's why kind of owning your strengths are so important because then they lead to action. And so once I started owning my strengths, surrounding myself by the right people, and then also taking action from it was just transformative. But there's one more lesson, which I think is probably the scariest one. And that leads me into lesson number 5, which is leaning into uncertainty and living in the blue zone. And uncertainty really isn't something to fear, it's where the magic happens. But it is really difficult, especially for me who loves control and loves to plan. And the reality is that I'm in my final year of university and I have absolutely no idea what I'm going to be doing in the next few months. What kind of job will I have? Where will I be in April? Who will I be rooming with in the next year? Honestly, where will I be living? I don't even know what continent I'm going to be on. And the old me would have panicked, would have wanted to control and plan every single detail. What flight should I book? I should be applying to this. This is where I need to be. What if this doesn't happen? Then I'll have a backup plan. All of these things that ultimately you really can't control. But the new me is kind of excited about this uncertainty. I have so many opportunities that I could do in the next year. It's actually crazy. And that is such a privilege to have, is to have those opportunities, to not know what you're going to do, to dream, to be excited, kind of. And this is kind of the blue zone that I'm talking about, of that space of uncertainty where not everything is planned out perfectly. There is beauty in letting things go and trusting the universe to lead you where you need to be. But I really want to be clear because this isn't about just being passive and hoping things will work out, kind of being like, oh, yeah, the universe will take care of me. I'm fine. No, that's not what I mean. What I mean is that you have active trust and aligned action. And this is what I mean about being intentional, living in alignment, which are things that I feel like people will talk about a lot. But to be honest, they don't really concretely tell you what this is. And this is what I want to explain. We all have interests. For me, I have various interests, like a lot of people probably. And some of my interests are consulting and marketing, and I love fashion. And so, with these 3 interests, what am I actually doing? Well, for consulting, I'm taking a module in my university. I'm getting to learn about what is consulting, how do I become a consultant? What are the skills that you need to be a consultant? And then for marketing, I took a job in doing, marketing strategy. So I'm creating carousels, I'm creating flyers. And also with this podcast, I'm doing, reels and carousels and marketing. And I'm kind of experimenting strategies, kind of what resonates the best with my audience and vice versa. Who is my audience? Learning about those things. And I'm also taking marketing courses to help better my skills. And then with fashion, I'm still staying connected to the trends that are going on, looking at runways, looking at kind of magazines, honestly, just going into shops and stores and seeing what kind of is popping off at the moment. And also staying connected to people that I've worked with in the industry as well. And so this is what aligned action is. I'm taking the steps to do what I love and progress and grow, but I'm also having active trust that these steps will lead me to where I need to go. And that is what being intentional and living in alignment really is concretely. It's identifying your interests, taking the steps and actions that are aligned with your interests, and then also letting go and letting the universe kind of bring you these opportunities and things, and that it will lead you to where you need to go in the future. You just have to trust that because what you're doing, it will work out. And that is what I mean by having active trust and aligned action. And I think these two things are just magic together. as well as letting go. And so with this, I'm also kind of living it out. I'm being social. I think being social and having a social life is so important. I'm traveling. I'm hanging out with friends. I'm doing things that are fun because that's where the creativity lives. And especially in traveling, I feel like, traveling is such a privilege, and I'm so lucky that I have the opportunity to do it just in the region that I am. It's relatively inexpensive, and I'm taking advantage of it. And you can learn so much and you can develop such a broad perspective because you're seeing these new cultures, these new people, and you can also kind of discover where maybe you would want to live in the next few months or things like that, and where you don't like. You get to kind of know yourself. And I could definitely do another episode about why I think traveling is important because I really do. And each of these actions is a step on the path, even if I don't see the full picture. And kind of like Steve Jobs says, he said, the dots will connect backwards. And that is so true. You really can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. And so you really have to just trust that somehow they will connect in your future. And they will. And again, no decision is the wrong one. Each one is just a path to where you're going to go. And so I invite you to let the uncertainties be exciting. Keep living your passions, keep dreaming of your future. You don't need to have your whole life figured out by 21, 22, 30, whatever it is, to be honest. The hows will start to play out, but only if you keep showing up. So those were the 5 lessons from my past year. And now as I step into my next chapter, I really want to, 1, continue speaking my truth in spite of discomfort. 2 is staying curious and open to all the opportunities and honestly the pivots that come, because let me be honest, there's going to be a lot of them because your 20s are chaotic. 3 is prioritizing meaningful connections, quality over quantity always. 4 is taking creative risks, saying yes to things that scare me, because those are the things that could lead to opportunities that I would have never known if I hadn't taken them on. 5 is trusting the timing of my life, releasing the need to compare my chapter 3 to someone else's chapter 30. It is so unrealistic to compare yourself to somebody that has had an abundant amount of experiences or has lived more amount of years than you have to gain that knowledge and things like that. And honestly, you can really only compare yourself to yourself, who you were a day ago or things like that. That is how comparison can be used as a tool. So, what are your intentions for the next chapter? I genuinely love to hear them. Definitely DM me on Instagram. I read every single one of them. Maybe I can utilize one of them in my next chapter too. And basically, you really don't need permission to start. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to take the next step. Your early 20s or any transition period, honestly, isn't about having all the answers. It's about asking better questions. Trying, failing, learning, trying again, honestly. It's messy. And it's beautiful. That's what's beautiful about this, is that you're exactly where you need to be. You're learning, you're growing, you're developing, and that's honestly the beauty of life. And so if this episode resonated with you, please share it with someone who needs to hear it. Also leave a review and let me know what your biggest lesson has been this year. Also follow me on Instagram as I share more reflections and also recaps of these episodes. And then until next time, keep on dreaming, keep doing, and remember there's really no right path. There's only your path. And I'll see you in the next episode. Bye!